Okay, this is the Denton vacuum DV502A with the cryo pump. We have a CTI-8 cryo pump inside here, and we're using the 8200 compressor. And the temperature is being monitored right here. And you see it's at 12K right now. And while we're here, I just want to show you, it does use the XTC, the Infocon XTC2 to your deposition controller, and we'll go through that later on in the video. And I have it under vacuum right now, reading the chamber. It's been lower than this. I've just had this open not too long ago. So the ultimate pressure on the chamber is less than 2 times 10 to the -7. And then you can also look at your cryo pump vacuum. And this will just go into the 8 range with the high back valve closed. Just going around the back here, I want to explain a few of the utilities. Then over here we're using a chiller, so you're going to need chilled water for your compressor. This does not come with the system. This is our house unit. So you'll need to provide a chilling for the compressor over here. And the power for the compressor is ran to the back of the unit here. You'll receive that plug. And just to note here, the vacuum pump that we have right now is a house unit. We have the 250 volt single phase 15 amp pump is being rebuilt right now, so we'll provide that as before it's shipped. We'll get that ready for it. You can see here's our vacuum line going for our vacuum pump. There is a back panel. Over here you can see the back panel for the unit. I have it off so I can explain a few things in here. You'll have to connect your cryo lines, and they're marked return and supply to your compressor. And then you have your plug there for the expansion motor. Here's your cryo pump, it's a CTI-8. And just quickly down here, there's a PLC down here being used in this unit. Here are your two kVA transformers. There's thermal elements, filaments. And back here is your the back of the Infocon and your temperature controller, or your temperature monitor, which gets connected to the cryo pump. And again, you're going to have water lines coming in, and they're being used to cool your feed throughs, your high voltage, your high current feed throughs on either side. So you have an in and out, supply and return. And the way I have it set up is I have it just keyed into the 2 lines going over to the compressor. Down here, we have it keyed in 1/4 inch line. So it's marked here, water in and out, 1/4 inch line. We have an air, and that's to operate some of the valves, the pneumatic valves. And then here you would hook up your nitrogen for venting and for doing the regeneration. When you go to do a regeneration, you're going to have to manually shut the cryo compressor off and then open this valve here. Little needle type valve, and that'll allow the nitrogen to go in and warm up your compressor. Okay, I'll show you how to operate the machine. Again, we're under high vacuum now, so what I'm going to do is we can use auto vent mode. Oh, you do have a manual mode where all these switches will then, you can control it manually. You'll receive a manual on this on how to operate the machine, and you'll also receive a manual on the Infocon XTC2, which is important for the automatic process mode. Well, anyway, we'll just switch this to manual for now. And what that does is it closes all these valves here. When you go to do a regeneration, you'll close it like this. You can shut your cryo pump off here, go underneath, open that valve, and vent the cryo with the nitrogen, and allow it to warm up, and you can monitor the temperature here. and you can go through a regeneration, which is explained in the manual. What we'll do now is that we just want to show that the machine is operational. So what we can do here is we're going to go right into a auto process mode. Well, let's vent it first. So let's go to auto vent. Over here we have some TCs, a thermocouple gauge, and it's going to show you the pressure of the chamber. You can look at the bore line and the cryo pump when you're doing a regeneration. That's important. Well, let's go ahead and look at the chamber. You can see it's coming back up to atmosphere. Again, I'm only venting it with air. It's probably best to use nitrogen when you're doing live product. While we're waiting for it to vent, I just want to explain what this, the MP is mechanical pump vent. So when you shut the pump down and you're shutting the system down, you can vent the bore line by opening this valve right here. But for the most part, this valve is closed, remains closed. You can see whenever the high vac is closed and you're looking at chamber, no power is being sent to the gauge, so you always get a 0 there, but you can always look at the cryo. It may take a little time to ignite the cold cathode. And then you can shut it on and off. That's the off one. Turn it back on. And just a few other things that you can run in manuals. You have a left and right select for the sources inside. I'll show you that when we open it up. You can turn your filament on here. And this is always in the filament position for this machine. And you can adjust your rotational speed. I'll show you the planetary up top that's provided with this machine. And then you also have a shutter open and close switch here too. Okay, so we're in auto vent mode. We should be pretty close to atmosphere. Just open the door up here. And you can see the inside of the chamber. Here's our planetary up top here. And by turning on the switch, you can see that it's rotating. And you can adjust the speed. It's rotating faster now. Generally, you want to rotate it about the speed here. And your on-off switch. Here's your shutter. I just want to show you that it's operational. That's a single shutter that's going to cover both sources. You can only operate one source at a time, but that's your shutter control here. Let's leave that open. Looking inside, you can see this is your left filament, and we're using a boat that looks like this on either side. And to install that, you would just loosen these up. You can use a wrench. They're tight. Just slide out your boat. You can see this has some aluminum on it, so I'm just going to go ahead and use this for our deposition. It's pre-melted aluminum. Loosen this up a little bit and we'll slide that in. And you do the same to the other side. And I'll just show you some of the aluminum that I was using to load in the boat. Hold this in place. You can tighten it by hand. If you want to, you can use a wrench and just tighten it up, snug it up even more. Okay, so that's your left filament and right filament. They've both been preloaded with aluminum and melted. The aluminum I was using is just some samples here. So it's just small pieces, and what you do here is I'll just lay one on each side. And you would lay a few pieces of aluminum inside the boats. As you can see, the aluminum melts and stays on the filament. Oh, just one thing to explain here too is, here's our crystal monitor, and that's going to measure your deposition rate, and that's tied into your input con. And that'll tell you what you, how much you deposited, and at what rate you're depositing. And then right here, I just want to explain here. This is just some glass slides that are used here to protect the glass in the front. As you can see, they got coated. Okay, so what we'll do is we'll close her up. And then I'll go right into, let's start with, we're going to start with the left. I'm going to put it to the left side here. I'm going to close the shutter. And then what I'll do is I'm just going to switch right over to, let's go to the auto pump mode. And what this will do is you're going to see that the rough valve opens. There it goes now. It's going to start bringing down the chamber vacuum. There's an automatic crossover here, so once it hits that 150 millitorr, it'll cross over and open the high vac valve, and then turn the chamber full cathode gauge on. And we'll get a reading here with the high vac gauge reading. This will take a few minutes, so we'll come back once it gets close to the crossover. Waiting for the chamber to pump out. I just want to explain the deposition controller. You can go into program mode. I'll show you what I have programmed. So now we're in program mode. It's showing you film 2. So this is the setup for film 2. Again, this is explained in the manual. We're looking at rise time 1. Rise time 1 is 1 minute for film number 2. And we're going to soak for 12% power for a time of 1 minute. Then we're going to go to rise time 2. We're just going to use 5 seconds here, up to 18% power. And we're going to sit there for 30 seconds. The shutter will remain closed during this time. Once this has completed, the shutter will open. So I had a 0 shutter delay. Going to show you the important, and right here is the depth rate. I'm just going to show you the important things. The other things you can look up, and it's what's used to set up the parameters for film number 2. You can find that in the manual, such as the cooling factor and some of the other what these things mean here. But for now, I just want to show you that we're going to do a depth rate of 1 angstrom per second for a final thickness of 500 angstroms. 0.5K angstroms. The density is 2.7, so I'm using aluminum. That's the density grams per cubic centimeter for aluminum. The ratio is 1.082. Again, this is in a manual. We're only using a 1 sensor. There's only 1 sensor available on the machine. And again, there's only 1 source that this controls, and that's why you'll need to select your left and right as needed. I just heard that we did hit the crossover here, and so what you're going to see is the high vac valve is going to open. High vac valve open. You see that the pressure dropped quickly, and then in about 15 seconds they'll turn on the chamber gauge. So you can see after having it open and turn it on, it's already in the 1 times 10 to the -5 going into the 10 to the -6 range, and it'll sit here on under high vac in auto pump mode, and it just stops there, becomes idle under high vac. Let's get back to here. Again, 1 source. To determine what source is being used for that film, you'd have to use your selector down here, your left or right. Crucible, again, there's no crucible in here. And then here's your PID for your controlling your deposition rate, your gain. Again, this is all explained in the manual. Here I have the max power set to 30, so it will not go above 30%. Alright, now I'm going to switch to, you see a little marker, I'm going to switch to 1. Enter. Now one is identical. Since they're both identical, I'm going to be doing aluminum in two cases here. So I called film number 1 and number 2 are identical. I can step through that real quick just to show you. Here's the max power, 30. Z ratio, 1.0. Density, final thickness, depth rate. So basically, just for demonstration purposes, I programmed film number 1 and number 2 as an aluminum, depositing at 1 angstrom per second, 500 angstroms. Rise time, soak times are the same. The reason I did that is to just demonstrate how you can actually put down 3 layers in it. Program 3 separate layers. Step down to it. In a process. So my process calls for I'm going to do film number 1 first. It'll pause and allow me to hit start again, and it'll put down film number 1 in layer number 2. So that's the process that we have running. Again, you can do 3 separate layers, and then each layer has a film. You can identify a film for that layer. I think you can program up to 9 separate films in here. So say you had other metals you're depositing at different rates, you can create a recipe for each film. Again, this is explained in the manual. But what we're going to run here is we're going to put 2 down first and then 1. So you can see film number 2, layer 1, it's in ready, stop mode. So at this point you can allow it to pump down. Like I said, it should go into the 7 range. We're pretty low in the 6 range now, so I'm just going to flip it over to auto process. In auto process mode, you don't have to turn on your filament power or your rotary power. It'll turn on automatically, and your shutters again is controlled by the deposition controller. So all we need to do at this point, we're going to put down film number 1, or film number 2 at layer 1. So we'll go ahead and switch this over to auto process. The high vac valve closed because we're switching modes. It'll open a high vac valve, and it's going to turn the gauge on. This is all timed in a PLC, and it's not adjustable by the operator. So you see we're at 2 times 10 to the minus 6. Shortly after that, we're going to see it begin to ramp. There it goes right now. If you want to stop it at any point, you can stop it and then continue by hitting start. So since I have the left side source selected, it's ramping up the left side source, and eventually we'll see some current on the meter. Again, reading the left side. So this is rise 1. You can see rise 1 time is a minute, and it's ramping. It's going to ramp up to 12% power. That's just to allow the filament to warm up. At this point, you may want to hit 0. So if you look over at the filament current, you can see it's now up around 150, 160 amps AC. We're getting close to the 12%. So once it hits 12%, it's going to soak there. And you'll see that this will change the soak time for a minute. Again, this is what's programmed in film number 2 that I just showed you. So we'll sit there for a minute, and then it's going to ramp up to 18%. I think it was. And it's your soak 2. And say at 2. We'll see that happen after a minute. This time, if you were to look in there, it's a little hard to see now, but once it lights up a little inside, you can see off of the glass here that the planetary is rotating. It turns on when the program begins. And the shutter is closed. Alright, so now we ramped up to 18, and I think that was a quick ramp of maybe 10 seconds, and we're sitting at 18% power, 30 seconds. You can see that the current's up around 200 now, and if you look inside you can see a little orange glow. That's coming off the left side filament. I don't know if you can look up in there, you probably can't see it from this angle, but the planetary is turning. Okay, so now the shutter opened once the soak time was done. You can see that we're not hitting our 1.0 angstroms per second, so the power is ramping up. Now this is again controlled by the PID that's in the film program, film number 2 program. It's just as the power is coming up, we're starting to get a little more deposition rate, and our total deposition is over here. Again, the max power was set at 30%, so we'll not go above 30. But generally, from my experience testing this setup, around 23-24% we should be depositing at 1 angstrom per second. Quick look at the filament current. We're up around 230 now. So as the power is increasing, we're getting a little bit more deposition rate. The total is adding up, and again, we're looking to hit 0.500 at a rate of 1.0. Here's the deviation that's showing you how far off you are from the actual depth rate that's programmed in. See that start moving around 0 once it gets to 1.0. If you look inside, you can see the brightness of the filament. Alright, at 1 angstrom per second, you say it's getting pretty close now, and we're at 23.5. At 1 angstrom a second to get 500 is going to take a couple of minutes, maybe 5 or 6 minutes, 7 or 8. So what we'll do is we'll come back in a little while. Once this hits 1.0, we'll show you that. You can see how it's starting to control here. We'll come back in maybe 5 minutes from now and we'll see where we're at on this. Okay, so this process has been running for at least 5 minutes now. And I just want to show you that we're at 277 and we're still controlling at around 1 angstrom per second. And as I said, the power is around 23.8. So we'll come back when it's getting closer to 500 before we shut off. Okay, so we're getting near the end here. We're almost at 500. And what we're looking for here is we're going to see that the power shuts off to 0 and that the shutter is going to close and then it's going to stop. Okay, the power's off. It's a little hard to see, but the shutter did close, and as you can tell, the light's out inside here now. Now, since there's a second layer program, which will be film number 1, will be at layer number 2, it'll sit here idle with the continue button until I hit the start. So before we do that, let's switch over to the right. The purpose for this is to show you that the left and the right source are operational. And again, this is going to be identical to the film number 2, but now it's going to be called film number 1. It's going to go through the same ramp soak and deposition rate and deposition amount. The only thing that's important here is we need to make sure we switch over to the source that we're controlling. Which we did, so now we're going to use the right source. And I'll just go ahead and hit start. You can see it's switched over to film 1. Layer 2, and it's beginning to ramp. Just one thing to note, you'll see that the thickness here is at the 509, which is what we just deposited. As soon as this once the shutter opens, you'll see that this resets back to 0 for your second layer. And we'll go ahead and watch this. You can see the current down here on the filament gauge, current gauge. And the thing to note is that we're at rise time 1. There's a timing down for 1 minute. And the power's going up. Again, it'll stop at 12. We'll soak at 12 for a minute. And then go into rise 2. That's 80%. Okay, we'll come back and show you. Again, it's identical to the other one. We'll show you when this is up at power and depositing. Okay, we're in a deposit mode here now. It went up to the 18% and soak there. You can see it's doing, it's actually the same as the other source. It's ramping up, and we can see that we're starting to get some deposition right here. The total is being counted here. Again, somewhere around 23-24%. It should be depositing at 1 angstrom per second. Looking down here, you can see the filament current. And looking through the glass, you can see that there's an orange glow inside. Here we're at 22, 21.9, and we're pretty close to 1 angstrom per second. So again, it's going to control here, trying to maintain 1 angstrom per second. It'll adjust the power until we hit the 500 mark, and then it'll shut everything down, close the shutter. So we'll come back in a little while and see how it's going. Okay, we're a little more than halfway to 500, and I just want to show you that we're at the power is 24%. We're depositing at roughly 0.9 angstroms per second. And we're pretty close to 300 right now, angstroms. So in a few more minutes it'll end, we'll show you the end, and that'll be it. You can almost see the filament inside the chamber. Okay, you can see we're at 492, 93, pretty close to 1 angstrom per second. You see the power's a little bit higher now, maybe running out of material. So anyway, the power drops down to 0, the shutter closes. It's allowed to pump for a little while in auto process mode, and then what it's going to do is automatically vent for us. Let's show that, and then we'll open the chamber up. You can see the vacuum here, even after the chlorine deposit, is somewhere in the high 7 range. I think this is just to allow the filament to cool before it vents it up. Roughly a minute after the layer has finished. Layer 2. There you go. You can see the high vac valve closed. The chamber gauge shut off, and we're looking at our chamber pressure here, and you can see now we're venting. Again, I'm just venting it to air, but probably best to connect nitrogen to that line. It'll vent a little quicker too, though. Alright, once it vents up the atmosphere, we'll come back and we'll take a look at the inside of the chamber one more time. You can see the vent light is still on, and we're pretty close to atmosphere. Just one thing to point out, it'll probably stay at vent until there's a door interlock switch right here until that door is open. You can see the vent light go down. And when we close it again, it it won't come back on. Okay, one last look at the inside of the chamber. Open the shutters, you can see the two filaments here. And again, I'll look at the planetary and deposition monitor. Okay, that's it.